Hello, and welcome to Calculus 3. This is my little introductory video just to get you started. I'm assuming you've already read the syllabus. If not, you should do so now, because I'm really just going to go through all this fairly quickly. As mentioned in the syllabus, you do not need a physical, paper textbook for this class. What you do need is access to MyLab. Of course, if you want a textbook, a paper-bound or loose-leaf version of the book, you can get that at the NCC bookstore. And it should also come bundled with a MyLab code. So in that case, you can just sign in and log in using that code. If you're still waiting for delivery, you should still try to log into MyLab as quickly as possible. You can do that here by registering as a student, and there is a free 14-day trial that you can use while you're waiting for your delivery from the bookstore. On the other hand, if you're comfortable with just using the ebook within MyLab, and you don't want to buy a physical copy, then that's fine. You just go to this website and you register now as a student. And in order to register, as it says, you will need these three things: an email address, and it says preferably the one provided by your school. So your NCC or mail.ct.edu address, I suppose, is the preferred one. On the other hand, if you're not going to check that very often, you should just use the email address that you're going to check most often. So if I need to get in contact with you, I will just send an email through MyLab, which goes to the address that you used to register. The other thing you'll need is the course ID, which is on the syllabus. So yeah, it's basically my last name and then the five digits. And then you will need an access code, which if you bought the book at the NCC bookstore, that should have come with it. If you did not, then you will need to pay for access to MyLab, either for using a credit card or through PayPal. Again, there's a 14-day free trial, but keep in mind that won't get you through the whole course. It won't even get you through half the course. So you will need to purchase full access at some point. On the other hand, if you just want to try this out and you're not sure if this course is for you yet, then definitely just use the 14-day free trial, see if you like it, and go from there. But if you intend to finish the entire course, you will need to purchase access to MyLab. Okay, so once you click on that, you would enter the course ID from the syllabus right here, and then continue to register. And once you are logged into your MyLab account, and you get access to this course, this is roughly what your home page will look like. It'll be a calendar like this. You can view it by weeks or days, or preferably by the full month. And you'll see the schedule. And so each blue dot represents one of the homework assignments. And if you click on assignments on the left here, you will just get a list of all the assignments. And you can work through the homework assignments at your own pace. The blue dots indicate when they're due. So the first homework assignment consists of two sections, section 13.1 and section 13.2. Which again is everything should be visible at the start. So you can work ahead as much as you want. Just try not to fall behind. So the first homework assignment should be started on the 29th, Thursday the 29th, and then due on Friday the 30th. by the end of the day. And so that's where you should begin. So if you click on the Assignments tab here, you get a list of your assignments. And I'm going to click on the first assignment, 13.1. And you have the questions on the right here, and on the left there's a video lecture. Obviously, if you watch the lecture first, it might help, help you with some of the questions. There's also my lecture videos that are on YouTube. You're free to use those as well. So after watching the lecture, you can go in order, or you can do this in any order you want. So let's start with question 1. Oh, and you will need to allow pop-ups in your web browser for this site. So yeah, here's the pop-up. And the first question is just multiple choice. So you just pick the correct answer, you click check answer, and it'll tell you immediately whether you're right or wrong. Very convenient. So this is incorrect. And sometimes it gives you a little bit of a hint or something to think about that may or may not be helpful. And you can see that it's giving me a second chance here. Not all questions will do that, but sometimes you get 2 or 3 chances before it actually marks you wrong. So I'm going to click another one that's I know is incorrect. It says final check, and it says it's incorrect. The correct answer is actually D. So at this point, you can go on to the next question, question 2, or if you don't want to leave it incorrect, you can try again, and it'll bring up probably the same question. And in some cases, it'll be a very similar question. It might change the numbers, or it might be different functions or things like that. But let's say you get it right this time. At least I think this is right. Yep, fantastic. On to the next question, right? So essentially, for each question, you have unlimited chances, and you have unlimited time. Well, okay, maybe not unlimited time, because we have a test coming up. So you don't want to spend too much time on any one question. If there's something that you're stuck on, go on to the next question. Or in some cases, there will be, maybe not for all questions, but for some of the questions you'll have these little help down here, these little help buttons, help me solve this, view an example, or get more help. So if you hit help me solve this, it'll sort of walk you through it step by step. And it'll ask you to input some of the information, and hopefully that will help you answer the question. Again, if you might want to rewatch the video, that might help too. And if you're still stuck, you can always ask my instructor. So that just brings up a window, and this will send me an email. Try to be specific, right? Don't just type, how do I do this? I might not know where you're having trouble. So, maybe be specific. So for example, what does the vector in this question refer to? Something like that. And then just click send, and it'll send me an email. Now, you're not obviously going to get instant feedback, but I will check my email about once every day. So you should get a reply from me either later that day or the next day at the latest. I know up until that point, I might not be checking, or I might not have checked a lot throughout this summer. But once the course begins, I will be checking every day. Okay, so obviously the goal is to get all these questions correct, get green check marks for everything. You do get 1 point for just watching the video, of course, but most of the points come from answering the questions. And so, yeah, this homework will be part of your grade. Not a big part in total. It's, I think, 20%. But so each individual question it doesn't count that much because there's a lot of questions. On the other hand, it's the best way to prepare for the test. So ideally, you want to get as much of the homework correct as possible. Okay, so you'll notice for this first homework assignment, question 7 and question 10 have this little red SW next to it. SW stands for show work. So you'll notice that in most of these questions, say question 6, for example, they just ask for an answer. And so you just type in the correct answer. So in this case, I guess they're looking for a number. So they're looking for the magnitude of -7v, and just type in exact answer using radicals as needed. Right, so this is probably where you would work this out on pencil and paper and then come up with the answer, which I think is 7 times the square root of 85. But I'm not certain. Let me check. Okay, so I got that right. And then you go on to the next question. So yeah, in most cases, they're just looking for the answer. And that will be most of the questions on the test where they just want the answer, right? Either a numerical answer, or it could be a function or a vector or something like that. However, some of the questions will require you to show your work in addition to that. For a problem like this, there's maybe not that much to show. It's just a few lines of calculation. But let's go on to the question 7, where they ask us to show our work, right? So you'll notice that there's a question here: which vector has the greater magnitude, u minus v or w minus u? And so it's just multiple choice. And of course, you're welcome to just guess. I mean, that's, you have a 50-50 chance. On the other hand, even if you happen to get it right, you're not going to get much credit for that. You also have to show your work. So here's how that works, right? If you click on Show Work, up pops this little window, and this is your blank screen where you can show your work. So if I click on the pencil, I can write my work. And you can see this is not the best way to do it. Right. You could also type your answer. Again, that might take some time. And especially if you have to do math, you'll have to bring up the math tab here somewhere. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, yeah. So this little pi here brings up a window where you can put in symbols and stuff. It's awkward, right? And it will take, there's a bit of a learning curve on how to work with this. So I don't blame you if you don't want to bother with any of this. If you're more comfortable with working on just regular pencil and paper, that's fine. So what you would do then is you would take a picture, either with your phone or a camera or something, of your work. And you see this button right in the middle here, this insert image icon. You would click on that, and you can upload your picture as a JPEG, as an image file of some kind. I think preferably a JPEG, and you would upload that, and that's way I can see your handwritten work. So yeah, I wouldn't blame you for not trying to do it within this little window here. So once you have your work, whether it's through the window or handwritten, and then you just insert the image into the window here, and you click Save. Then it says Work Saved, and then you answer the question. Now, there's only two answers here, so it's either going to be right or wrong. Okay, so I guessed right. But again, the credit will not be for your answer, it'll be for the work that you've submitted. Okay, so this is something that you really need to get used to, and that's why it's in the homework here. Right now it's just the 2 questions, and that should be it. The main reason for this is just to get you used to the idea of showing work within MyLab. And also that I can see that you know how to submit work on MyLab, and to see if the work is sufficient. So you will get a grade for these 2 homework assignments. Again, it might take a couple days for me to grade everything, but I will grade it before the first test. And that way you'll have some idea of what type of work and what I'm looking for. Right? I mean, it doesn't have to be too detailed. On the other hand, it's probably just more than just a line or 2. So again, I will give you some idea of how much work is necessary. Essentially, as much work as you feel you need, to convince someone, me preferably, that you know how to solve the problem and that you know what you're doing. But I will also post examples of this on Blackboard so that you can see the type of work I'm looking for. Again, it's not going to matter that much in the homework because I think it's just these 2 questions. If there are other show work questions that come up in the homework, I wouldn't bother. Just these first 2 and the first assignment is all I'm looking for. But when it comes to tests, you're going to see a lot more show work problems. And so for tests, roughly half the test will be show work problems. It might only be, if the test is say 15 or 20 questions, there might only be 3 or 4 show work problems. But you can see most questions are only 1 point. The show work problems are 4 points. So those count for significantly more. Right, so the calendar has all the homework dates here, and you can either click on the blue dot, which gives you just the homework for that date, or on the assignments, which will give you a whole list of all the assignments for the whole semester. And as I've said, there's no, there's a due date for these assignments, but they are recommended. And you can still work on homework after the due date, and it will count for a grade. So if there's maybe just a couple of questions that you might have missed and you want to come back to, or maybe you want to review before the test, you can do that. But the main reason for the due dates is so that you do not fall too far behind. As you might have noticed, this is a very, very quick semester. It's only 5 weeks, so every day you're going to be doing 1 or 2 sections in the textbook, and so it's going to seem pretty fast if you're not used to this pace of a course. Right, and I made this a little bigger so you can see the dates of the tests. Now they're not going to show up yet in MyLab. Only the homeworks will show up in MyLab. The tests will show up when the day comes. The tests will be timed, typically 2 hours for a test. So you also have to be aware of that in the homework you have essentially unlimited time, in the sense that you can take as much time as you want for each question. Again, you have the due dates, so try not to fall too far behind there. But the test will be 2 hours. So yeah, try not to spend too much time on any one particular question. On the test, you can skip around from question to question, just like in the homework. However, you will not have all the help features that are in the homework, so just be aware of that. The tests, I'm basically give you a 2-day window. So even though the first test, test 1, is scheduled for Friday, July 7th, you see this little arrow, you could also take it as late as Saturday, July 8th. So within that 2-day window, you should take the test, and I would not wait until, Saturday, 10 p.m. as sort of the latest you'd be able to take that 2-hour test before the deadline. Try to take it, if you're taking it Saturday, at least try to take it earlier, just in case something goes wrong or something. So don't push too hard against the deadlines. Right, and the first 2 tests are scheduled on the weekends. I tried to do that just to make it convenient. However, the last 2 tests, test 3 and the final exam, had to be scheduled in the middle of the week. There's really no choice here. That's where they fell. So, if there's any problems or any issues, please send me an email. If you know you're going to be away or something, you send me an email as soon as possible. I will try to accommodate you as best as I can, but this is the schedule we have, and so unless there's a exception, usually you will be taking the tests on these given days. You should also be fairly comfortable with Blackboard. This is where I will post any announcements. I should also say that, look, MyLab is technology. Like any technology, it's not infallible. If the website goes down for whatever reason, especially on a test day, look, I will be reasonable. If it's not your fault, if it's whether it's a scheduled or a sudden failure on Pearson's part with MyLab not functioning for whatever reason, I will probably just schedule the tests the next day. So I don't anticipate anything going wrong like that, but it has happened. So just be ready for anything, I suppose. But fingers crossed, there won't be any issues with the technology. So yes, so obviously if it goes down, we still have Blackboard, and I will let you know of when the test will be postponed on Blackboard. Again, make sure you read the syllabus, and as far as the course content goes, there's some formula sheets that you can use on the test. There's some review tests, which I typically use for the paper and pencil tests. So when preparing for the MyLab tests, I would just do the homework. If you can get perfect scores on the homework, you really shouldn't be worried about the tests. And if you're a perfectionist and you still want extra practice, then try the review tests as well. But I would say it's probably not necessary, and it's a little bit of overkill. But if you do have the time, then at least maybe take a look at the practice tests. The show work option is if you don't want to show your work within MyLab, and you do your handwritten work, and you still have to take your picture, of course, but if you can convert it to a PDF document, then if you click on show work options, you can show your work this way as well. So this is just an alternative for those of you that just don't like the way they handle it within MyLab. You just click on show work, and this is where you would upload your work, your assignment, upload files, right? And then you click submit. Now for the homework, make sure you upload both assignments at once, right? There's only one chance for the upload. When you're doing this for a test, make sure upload every single file all at once. Again, preferably as a PDF document. You can upload JPEGs and other image files in Blackboard. Just realize that sometimes it doesn't work so well. And if you're going to upload image files like JPEGs, you might as well just do it within MyLab itself. But if for whatever reason you think that maybe did not work, then you have this other option as well. And if this doesn't work, well, your final option, of course, is just to send it to me as an email, as an attachment. And I will accept it that way as well, although it's much easier if you do it either within MyLab or through Blackboard. So yeah, so that's how you can upload your work through Blackboard instead of MyLab. And finally, let me just say what you're allowed to use when you're taking the test on MyLab. So when you're doing homework, of course, I can't stop you. You can pretty much use whatever you want. Just realize that during a test, you will not be allowed to use unlimited resources. So of course, you can use a graphing calculator. The graphing part, we're really not going to use that much for this class. As much as you used it in Calc 1 and 2. But, you can use the calculator for basic calculations. You are also allowed to use any notes that you've taken, either when you're reading the textbook or watching the videos or doing homework. And of course, you can use the formula sheets that I provided on Blackboard. If you look in course content and you click on formula sheets, you can use those there. It's, again, just more convenient, so, highlighting the things that you might be needing more often than not. Oh, sorry. So that was, okay. Yeah, so this is also the review test I have. Again, that's on pencil and paper. Right. So, yeah, you can use your calculator and your notes, but that's it. No other resources are permitted during the tests. And don't think I can't tell, because I have caught people in the past using things that they should not have been using. And given the nature of this course, you realize you're not going to be able to just, Google how do I get the answer here. In most cases, that will probably take you a lot longer than the 2 hours you have for the test. So it's not worth it. It's just not. And after all, this is going to be stuff that you're gonna need in the future. I'm assuming a lot of you are STEM majors, and so yeah, this material, especially if you're going on to physics, second semester of physics, in particular, the last few sections in the course are going to be most important. You'll notice that I did give you a little bit more time in the last part of the course. So if the first few weeks seem very intense, well, it is, and then it might slow down towards the end. On the other hand, the last 3 sections tend to be somewhat more difficult, but are also the most important. Right. So yeah, so that's the course. These are the topics listed by section in the textbook. I suppose I should mention one section in particular, section 16.7. I typically don't even include on the tests. So there aren't that many questions in the homework, and in fact, if you want to skip section 16.7 entirely, that's fine. It's not that it's not important. It's just, if you're short on time, that may be the one section that we can sort of sacrifice here. And like I say, everything else is, comes up in other courses, whether it's engineering or physics, or higher level math courses. Right, this will come in handy, and I find this to be a really fun course. Of course, that's just me. I'm a little biased there. So I hope you enjoy the course. I think one more thing I should say about the prerequisites. Obviously, I'm assuming you've had Calculus 1 and Calculus 2. Most of what you'll need in this course is really just Calculus 1. Now, officially you do need Calculus 2. But the topics in Calculus 1 in particular, they made you sort of memorize or know by heart all the derivatives, all the rules for derivatives. So you should be very comfortable with that by now. And in this course, you will be seeing that, right? So for example, if you do not know that the derivative of x cubed is 3x squared, that's going to be a problem. You know, if you have to use a computer to tell you that the integral of secant squared of x is tangent of x plus c, again, that's going to be a problem. So those basic rules for derivatives and integrals, you should know by heart. From Calculus 2, again, you're not going to need a whole lot, actually. Most of what you need comes at the end in terms of polar coordinates and parametric equations, but we will review that in this course as well, in particular in Chapter 14. But yeah, so basic derivatives and integrals, that you should know by heart. If you want to take a half hour or an hour just to review those rules, it can't hurt. But you will see that throughout this course, we're going to use those a lot. More obscure topics or recent topics that you did in Calc 2. So for example, integration by parts, that could come up. It doesn't come up often, but you might see a few questions where you might have, particularly in Chapter 16 where we do integrals. Some of the integrals you might need by parts to solve. What else? Maybe a trig substitution occasionally, a trigonometric substitution. Again, not very often, but it might come up in a couple questions. So those would probably be some of the more difficult questions. Basic substitution, like ordinary, what they call U substitution, that you're going to do quite often. But things like partial fractions, that hardly comes up at all. What else? Maybe a reduction formula. If you need a reduction formula for integrals, you're free to look that up. The point is it just doesn't come up that much. So that's what you need to take the course. Basically, having mastered the rules for, basic derivatives and integrals, and hopefully that's enough. Now you'll see that that's just part of it. This is a very visual course, especially when you're dealing with three-dimensional space. It's very hard to draw things in 2 dimensions that represent three-dimensional space, but I do the best I can in my videos, and I think they do the best they can in their videos. So I will say, between the videos that are provided by MyLab and the videos that I provided, again, they're in the syllabus somewhere. I know there's a link somewhere in the syllabus. Yeah, to my lecture videos here. Right, so that link should take you to a list of my videos that are on YouTube. I should warn you, though, that some of the the videos were recorded using a different book, so the notation might be slightly different. In which case, I usually noted that in the description of the video. And if there's a mistake in the video, I usually noted that in the section. If you suspect there's another mistake, please let me know, and I will try to make a correction within the description. But I don't blame you if you just want to stick to the videos within MyLab. They tend to be shorter and more to the point. using just the basic examples. I tend to do a lot more examples and, you know, sort of work through things more step by step. So it just depends on how much detail you want. You're welcome to watch both, of course, but you probably only need one or the other. And just whichever you find you know, more useful or what you're more comfortable with. And so I hope that answers most of your questions about the course. If not, feel free to just send me an email. And, you know, it might take a day or two to get a reply, but I will reply as quickly as possible. And enjoy the course.